done with the main body for the octopus. Here it is. So check it out. Remember, you can cut the yarn and just fasten off. We'll attach everything later on. We'll add eyes too, all that fun stuff. But here's your piece. Enjoy it. And it's a little tough for me to get the whole thing on my camera because of where it is. But that's the main part. So this is done. I'm going to put that aside. And now start on the bottom. So the bottom's going to be pretty easy. It's just done in the round every time we add 6 more stitches, just to keep it nice and flat, or relatively flat. And we're just going to alternate the colors that we did in the body just every single round. So it's not really tapestry crochet, we're just going between different colors and stripes, which in a circle means they're just concentric circles. So we start with a magic circle again. So our blue yarn, remember, you want to lay it down over your fingers, come around the back. Now when you come up the front, cross them, and then straight down the back again. You can use your fingers then to hold it. When you go under the first, grab the second, pull it up, just flip your hand over, keep the hook in the little loop you have there, and tighten it up just to work with it. Again, there's nothing holding it, you're just pulling it a little tighter. One chain, kind of locks it in place. So 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So when you're done, twist everything, make sure your stitches are on the outside of the circle. You can go ahead, if this is twisted in, you can pull that out and go ahead and pull the tail until the 2 ends meet. So you don't have to tighten it all the way yet. Sometimes it helps not to. So I haven't really tightened it, and that's going to let me go ahead and do my next round, which is actually round number 1 for how we're counting the magic circles first. This round that we're now working together, that's our first round. So we want an increase in every single stitch. So 2 single crochet in every stitch. It's going to give me 12 stitches total in the end. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, finally 12. So like I said before, we didn't tighten the circle all the way, so it's not surprising it opened up a little bit on us. In fact, it's what makes it easier to do that first round because it's not quite as tight. So now I'm just gonna give myself some yarn. Here, I'll flip it over, and we're gonna pull this tail until hopefully it slides and we get this to really seal up nicely. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I just tear the yarn. Yeah, so I'm not getting it all that good. That's okay. Whether it locks in really nicely for you now or not, I still recommend that you pause now, use a needle or a smaller hook, whatever you want to do, and run that tail through those stitches, tie a knot nice and tight, secure it, so that you don't really have to worry about this thing popping open later no matter what. I know it's not supposed to, but they do all the time. Or at least for me, they do all the time, especially when I'm using acrylic yarn. They seem to just slide open easily. So go ahead and do that. and then I'll join you for the next round where we will continue with this blue yarn for a couple more. Okay, we're on to round 2. I did my knot and secured that string, the yarn, around the magic circle, so hopefully all will be nice and strong. Okay, next round we are going to do a single crochet, then an increase, repeat that 6 times around, and halfway through or towards the end we want to go ahead and join the brown yarn in, because that's what the next round is going to be. So let's go ahead, we're going to do, oh, and I have the wrong hook here. That's why this tiny little hook, I'm so sorry. I have a bunch of them here on my table and I just grabbed the wrong one. The other thing I should note, it does not matter whether you did it or not. For the bottom, I often do, like we did for the body too, the first couple of rounds, if you do through both loops, it tends to keep it a little more solid here at the center. The other thing is, you can actually just do this whole bottom, both loops only, back loop only, whichever you prefer. I'm actually doing everything both loops, just because I feel like it. So either way, it really doesn't matter. Again, it's the bottom of the octopus. You're not going to see it most of the time. You just want it to be secure and keep the stuffing in. So, kicked that again. I'm going to really try not to do that anymore. Okay, so 1 single crochet followed by an increase. Like I said, I'm doing both loops. So that's 1, my increase is going to be 2 and 3. So single crochet is number 4. My increase is going to be stitches 5 and 6, 2 in the same. Single crochet 7, and then 8 and 9 are in the same. So at this point we've done it 3 times, which means we have 3 more to go, so I'm at 9. Halfway through, it means we'll have 18 at the end, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my brown yarn and just attach it up here. So I'm just going to hold it in the back. Again, we're not using the brown until the next round. So that was 9. This is going to be 10 single crochet. Remember, fold that tail over and now hold both of these inside the stitches. So that was 10, 11, and 12 are my increase. That's 2 in the same. We have a single crochet, stitch 13, followed by 14 and 15, which is the increase. That brown yarn is just going everywhere, isn't it? Alright, next one. My last repeat. That's 16. The increase is 17 and 18, and on that last stitch we're going to go ahead, drop the blue. I'm not going to cut it because we're going to use it again in a couple of rounds, but I am going to switch over to the brown yarn so that I can start the next round with that. Alright, rounds 3 and 4, that's the next 2 we have. We're going to be using the brown yarn as our working yarn. I'm not going to bother holding the blue variegated in the stitches because it can just run along the back, and again, I don't need it for either of these 2 rounds. I need it for the round after that, and I don't feel like cutting and attaching again. So I'm just going to leave it dangling there and hope I don't get it caught in anything, but I'm not going to bother holding it inside each stitch. For this repeat, we're going to do 2 single crochet followed by an increase. So 1, 2, followed by an increase, which is 3 and 4. And that's it, just continue it around. Single crochet is 5 and 6. And now our increase 7 and 8. So a couple things to point out. One, it's typically easy to figure out when you started around when you've changed colors, because you're just going to keep going until you've finished filling in all of the blue variegated single crochets. But another thing to keep in mind, which I think we saw when we were doing the increases for the head for a little while. Right now I've done my 2 single crochet, I'm ready to do the increase. It's going to be, the increase is always going to be in the second stitch of the increase from the previous round. It's always going to be there for all of these rounds for the bottom. So my increase, which is 7 and 8, right in that second stitch of the increase. So continue that. You need it 6 times around. Next round is going to stick with the brown, so you can keep that on as you're working yarn when you finish the last stitch. So go ahead, finish that out, and I'll see you for the next round. Ready to start round number 4. Again, with the blue yarn, or brown yarn. This is going to be the last round for the brown, not only at this little point, but actually for the entire bottom. So at the end of this round, we're going to end up cutting it. The last stitch in this round, the last stitch of the last repeat, make sure you switch to the blue, which right now, again, I'm just letting hang at the back of the work. I'm not holding it in stitches or anything, but make sure you switch to that for the end. So we are going to have 3 single crochet followed by an increase. We're just upping it by 1 every single time. So 1, 2, 3 single crochet followed by an increase, which is going into the second stitch of the increase last time. 1, 2, like that. So that this is now stitch 6, 7, 8, and my increase 9, 10 goes into the second stitch of the increase. So that's 2 repeats, 3 stitches, 3 single crochet followed by an increase. Again, at the end of the round, go ahead and switch back to the blue in the last stitch. We're going to end up cutting the brown and just holding the tail in when we get to the next round, but you got to finish the rest of the stitches in this round before you get there. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, I just finished the last stitch of round 4, crossing it off my list right here. I have switched back on to the blue variegated yarn and did that in the last stitch. Now this brown, since we're done with that actually completely for this part of the octopus, I'm going to cut that. I'll hold the tail inside the stitches, but I'm ready for the next round. For this one, we're going to continue this set of increases. Last time it was 3 single crochet with an increase. Now we are 4 single crochet with an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochet. The increase 5 and 6 is going to go into that second stitch of the increase from the last time. That's 5 and 6. So that's the repeat again. It is 4 single crochet. 1, 2, and let the tail go now. 3 and 4. The increase will go in the last stitch of the increase from the last round. All right, repeat that 6 times all the way around, 4 single crochet followed by an increase. At the end of the round, we're just sticking with this blue yarn. We got 1 more round of that before we introduce the white for 2 rounds. So finish this up in blue, leave the blue ready to go, and I'll see you for the next round. All right, we're on to round 6, and still sticking with the blue yarn, but I have my white yarn ready here to join in towards the end of this round, and in the last stitch in the round I'm actually going to switch in the middle of the stitch to this white yarn so that I can do the next two rounds rather in white. You may be noticing too, oh well, there went my white yarn. I'll grab it later, just right off the table. All right, so you may be noticing that the shape is looking a little bit more like a hexagram than a circle. We got sides and angles, not quite a nice round. It's because we've got the increases going on at the same place every time. It really doesn't matter for us. It's perfectly fine because we're going to be sewing this on to the, actually I use single crochets to attach it, but we'll be attaching this to the base, or rather to the head. We've got 8 legs we're attaching to it. It doesn't matter if it's perfectly round. We just want it as, you know, centered and round-ish as we can make it. But this is fine. Don't worry about making it perfectly smooth and round. We've got, for this round, 5 single crochet and an increase. Again, just upping the number of single crochet by 1 every single time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my increase, 6 and 7. So that's the repeat. Again, 5 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an increase, 6, 7, and you should be able to see in your own work that that increase is always going to be in the second stitch of an increase from the previous round. So that's it. That's the pattern. Go ahead and repeat it. We've done it twice. Finish out the next 4. That'll bring us all the way around. Remember to attach that white yarn somewhere here towards the end, and then in your very last stitch, switch the working yarn to white so that we can use the white in the next round. So that's it. See you then. Round number 7 is up. See, I've attached the white yarn towards the end of the last round, and in my last stitch I switched the working yarn to be the white, so I finished the stitch in white. I'm not going to be using the blue variegated yarn for 2 rounds, but I don't feel like cutting it. Again, I'm just going to leave it hanging in the back and not carry it in my stitches, but just try not to get it knotted up with anything else. And again, working in the round, that tends to be easier to do because we're just rotating around. We're not trying to flip our work back and forth, and that's really easy to get yarn tangled up then. So for this round in the white, we're going to do 6 single crochet followed by our increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, followed by an increase. That's the repeat. I'll do it one more time here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, followed by an increase. So that's it. That's 2 times. I'm gonna have to repeat it a total of 6. And again, I'm just leaving this blue yarn hanging from the back of my work, not carrying it in the stitches or anything. It's okay if you do, nothing wrong with that. I'm just basically being lazy and not bothering doing that. So we're gonna end up with 2 rounds of this white and go back to the blue to finish it out. But for right now, get around the rest of this circle by doing 6 single crochet and an increase. Finish it up and I'll see you for round 8. So we're on to round 8. This is the last round in white for the bottom altogether. So in the very last stitch, I want you to go ahead and in the middle of the stitch switch back to the blue variegated yarn. We'll use that for the last 2 rounds. But right now, before you do that, we got to do the whole round. So round 8 is going to be now 7 single crochet followed by an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7's going into the first stitch of the increase from the last round, and our increase is going to the second stitch. So that's the repeat. 7 single crochet followed by an increase. Do that 6 times around. Remember, in your last stitch, go ahead and switch back to the blue yarn so that we can use that for the final 2 rounds. All right, see you in a bit. All right, I'm just finishing my last stitch in the round, and as you see, I switched the yarn to the blue color in that stitch so that we can continue the blue for the next 2 rounds, which are also the last 2 rounds. So I can go ahead and cut the white yarn because we are done with that for now. And I can now start with you round number 9. So for round 9, we are going to continue the same basic pattern of just increasing at 1 single crochet followed by an increase. So last time it was 7 with an increase, now we have 8 with an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm holding that tail inside the stitches just to secure it. 5, 6, 7, 8, followed by an increase. 2 and the same. So that's the repeat. Go ahead and do it all 6 times. Again, 8 single crochet followed by an increase. The end of that round, we're going to just continue with the blue, which is the only yarn we have attached right now, and that'll be our final round. So 6 times around with this, 8 increase, and then we'll finish up. Last round for the base or bottom of the octopus. We have right now 60 stitches to match the top, and to give us that nice divisible by 8 number, we want 64. So for this last repeat, we're not going to do it 6 times, we're only going to do it 4 times. Same idea as we did before with the top. For this one though, we're going to do 14 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, getting there, 13, of course I'm running out of yarn here, and 14, followed by our increase. So this is only going to get repeated 4 times total, we just done it once. And things aren't going to lay as flat anymore because again, I'm not increasing it the same number of times. So when you're done, you can go ahead and pull the sides down a bit so that this front side is towards the top, like that, and the bad side is this inside where it's curling up around it. So 14 single crochet followed by an increase. Do that 4 times around. That'll bring you to the end of not only that round, but the entire base. So then you can fasten off the yarn, cut it, and you're all done. So then we get to move on to the legs. So finish this up, legs come next.